Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, we are going to revise a very important chapter from your economic syllabus, money and credit. Let's make sure you're fully prepared for your exams.
Now, I know exams are coming up, and this chapter can sometimes seem a little difficult. But please, don't worry at all. Together, we're going to break down every single topic step by step to make it really simple for you.
Okay, so here is our plan for today. We'll start from the very beginning with the barter system and see why money was needed. Then we'll look at the money we use today and the role of banks. After that, we will understand credit, its different sources, and a very interesting solution called self-help groups. And finally, we'll have a quick recap and some very important exam tips.
Right, let's begin with our first topic. To understand money, we first have to imagine a world without it. Why did human beings need money in the first place?
A long time ago, before there were any coins or notes, people used something called the barter system. This simply means goods were exchanged directly for other goods. For example, a farmer might exchange some of his wheat for a potter's pots. It sounds simple, but it had a very big problem.
Let's take an example. Imagine a shoe manufacturer. He has made shoes and now he wants to buy wheat. He finds a farmer who has wheat to sell. But the farmer doesn't need shoes. He wants to buy clothes. So what happens now? The exchange cannot take place. This was the main problem with barter.
This brings us to a very important term for your exams. It's called the double coincidence of wants. This is the essential condition for barter. It means that what you want to sell is exactly what the other person wants to buy, and what they want to sell is exactly what you want to buy. You can imagine how difficult this would be.
And this is where money comes in and solves the problem. Money acts as a medium of exchange. It acts as a middleman. So the shoe manufacturer can first sell his shoes for money and then use that money to buy wheat from the farmer. See? The problem is solved.
All right, now that we know why money is so important, let's talk about the money we use today. In the modern world, what exactly is considered money?
In modern times, money has two main forms. The first one is obvious, currency. These are the paper, notes, and coins that we all use. The second form is demand deposits. This is simply the money that people keep in their bank accounts.
But have you ever thought about why we accept a piece of paper like a 100-rupee note as money? It's because it is authorized by the government of the country. In India, the Reserve Bank of India, or RBI, issues currency notes on behalf of the central government. No one can refuse to accept it for payment.
Now let's talk about demand deposits. When we deposit our extra cash in a bank, it's safe, and the bank even pays us interest. We can withdraw this money whenever we need it, or on demand. That's why they're called demand deposits. This money in the bank is also a form of modern money.
Another facility linked to demand deposits is the check. A check is simply a paper instructing the bank to pay a specific amount from your account to another person's account. This way, payments can be made without using any cash at all.
Okay, we've understood money. Now let's move on to the next major topic of this chapter, which is credit. Credit is another word for a loan.
So what is credit? It's an agreement. In this agreement, the lender supplies the borrower with money, goods, or services. In return, the borrower promises to pay the lender back in the future. Credit is a very common and important part of our economy.
But can credit be good or bad? Well, they can be both. Let's look at two stories. For Salim, a shoe manufacturer, credit was very helpful. He took a loan, completed a large order, and made a good profit. But for Swapna, a farmer, credit became a problem. Her crops failed, she could not repay the loan, and she fell into what we call a debt trap.
So what makes a loan helpful or harmful? It depends on the terms of credit. This is another very important concept. The terms of credit include four things: the interest rate, the collateral, the documentation required, and the mode of repayment. Let's look at one of these terms very carefully. Collateral. Collateral is an asset that the borrower owns, like land, a house, or a vehicle. This is used as a guarantee to the lender. If the borrower fails to repay the loan, the lender can sell the collateral to get their money back. Lack of collateral is a major reason why the poor cannot get loans from banks.
Now that we know what credit is, let's see where people actually get it from. There are two main sources of credit, and they are very different from each other.
The first source is the formal sector. This includes banks and cooperatives. The most important thing here is that they are supervised by the RBI, which ensures they charge fair interest rates. The second source is the informal sector. This includes moneylenders, traders, relatives, and friends.
There is no organization to supervise them, so they often charge very high interest rates and use unfair means to get their money back.
Now look at this chart. It tells a very important story. It shows that in urban areas, poor households depend heavily on informal sources for loans. More than half their loans come from there. But for rich households, it's the opposite. They get almost all their loans from formal sources like banks. This means the poor end up paying a much higher price for borrowing money.
So, we have a big problem. Poor people need credit, but they often can't get it from banks because they don't have collateral. So, what is the solution?
The solution is a wonderful idea called self-help groups, or SHGs. Usually a group of 15 to 20 women in a village come together. They start by pooling their small savings regularly. Members can then take small loans from the group's savings itself. And here is the most important part. Once the group is regular in its savings, it can get a loan from a bank without any collateral. The bank trusts the group.
This idea was powerfully put into practice by Professor Muhammad Yunus, who won the Nobel Peace Prize for it. He said that if you give poor people access to fair credit, they can create developmental wonders. And SHGs have proven this to be true all over the world.
We're almost at the end. We have covered the entire chapter. Now, let us quickly summarize the most important message, and then I'll give you some tips for your exam.
So, what is the core message of this chapter? It is this: for a country to develop and to reduce poverty, it is absolutely essential that everyone has access to cheap and affordable credit. This is the main takeaway you must remember.
And finally, some tips for your exam. First, please use the important keywords we discussed, like double coincidence of wants, collateral, and terms of credit. Second, always use examples, like the stories of Salim and Swapna, to make your answers better. Third, underline the main points in your answer sheet. And last, never forget the role of the RBI in supervising the formal sector. I hope this revision was helpful. All the very best for your exams.